We've always had room in our hearts for film and TV, not just on Netflix, but tape and disc and theaters. Also, God forbid that they take it all away and leave us nothing to broadcast to loyal listeners. We'll binge watch every single movie, so you don't have to. What else are we here for? Coming to you every week. Listen to us while you're busy. Luckily, we forgot to grow up. Hey everybody, it's Craig.
Hey, it's Scott.
Aloha, it's Andrew.
Man, you did it again. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling episode number 22 of the Forgot to Grow Up podcast. I know, that was such a strong Taylor Swift reference.
Love it.
This week on the podcast, we're going to talk about video games. I know, for those of you scoring at home, that probably got you a bingo on your Forgot to Grow Up card. Because who would have thought that a bunch of guys talking about TV shows and movies. Wow.
TV and movie shows, the good stuff. Like Movie Phone.
That is by far our best intro that we've ever done so far. We'll be talking about video games. Anyway, then we're going to finish the whole episode off with WWWTW, or what we watched this week. I'm never sure if I've actually put enough W's into that or not. Anyway.
Sounded good to me.
It always sounds
lots
like
of W's and a T.
It's WWWTW. Yeah, anyway, it's fine. Scott, do you want to start talking about video game movies? I feel like we're all going to have the same, 5.
Yeah, it's a pretty short list.
Yes.
If you look at movies that are based off of video games or video games adapted to movies, there's not very many. But
I feel like there just aren't many good ones. Like, there's a fair amount of movies that were done, but they're all so low budget.
Well, there's a lot of them that are low budget. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. There are a lot of, the Dead and Alives and the, really cheap other things that are, I would
all
never
the
talk
Tekken
about.
movies.
Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know what that is. But the first on my list, because in honor of the Lara Croft movie coming up, first on my list is the original Lara Croft movies, which gave us Angelina Jolie. Introduced me to her, at least, at the time. Those came out when I was, 10, 12, around that time?
Yes.
Just as
when
I
they
became
did
interested in women is the time it came out.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think she was, my 8th crush that I ever had.
Definitely amongst the top 10.
It definitely helped that they had the ride at Wonderland, and I was like, yes.
Oh, I never
every
made
time.
it to there. I never
Every
made it on
time.
that ride.
It's an interesting ride. It's not called that anymore.
No, well, I would imagine not. It's been 15 years since these movies
Since
came out.
since Paramount pulled out.
Yeah,
So.
and they weren't exactly they were kind of big at the time, but the fact that it got a sequel, there's 2 of them, is kind of shows that.
And a reboot.
And now it's getting a reboot, yeah, and it kind of helped I think reinvigorate the video game itself too, because it was based off a video game from the 90s, which was pretty big, and then I think the movies coming out kind of helped get it to a broader audience, and then that helped with the preceding games.
It really brought the hairstyle of the high ponytail into more of the public eye, and I stand by that because I love a high pony. That's my shit.
I know that, and now our audience knows that.
Now our audience knows
And
that.
we're all better for it.
Damn right.
But the thing I particularly liked about the first 2 Lara Croft films was that they were kind of like a girl not Tomb Raider. She is the Tomb Raider.
She is the Tomb Raider.
Indiana Jones is what I was trying to say. A female Indiana Jones type movie, and that's what I really liked about it.
Who's slightly more badass.
A little bit, yeah. She had the gun, the badass gun. She's got a lot.
She was
more
just
money.
jumping far,
Yeah, she just
comparatively. Indy was
balls.
kind of was kind of a puss comparatively. He was
a professor.
all up here.
He was
all up here.
He was an archaeologist. I'm not sure what she claims to be in this. Besides an heiress of some kind.
A jaw dropper.
Yes, but my one thing I have to say about these 2 movies is I always get them mixed up in which one was which. The Cradle. I know the name of the second one was The Cradle of Life, and vaguely what happens, but I also kind of completely am blank on the 2 of them because a lot of stuff kind of intermixes. There's a lot of caves, a lot of tombs, and some bad guys that are very generic.
You say Cradle of Life, and I don't know why, but the first thing that popped into my head was Alien versus Predator in that weird pyramid thing that was subterranean.
Yeah.
And it made me think, hey, listen, Hollywood, do a crossover. Give me an AVP Tomb Raider where Laura Croft has to get in there and save the day,
That actually kind
and
of
avoid aliens and predators.
I feel like
maybe team up with the predators because that would be bad ass.
I'd be pretty down for that. I feel like if the new Tomb Raider is successful and the new Predator movie is successful, bam, perfect opportunity for that crossover you
Boom.
just pitched. Coming out 2020. Hopefully we'll get a little copyright for that.
Hopefully, because that
At least
would
free
be
movie
boss.
tickets. That'd be
Yeah.
great. That'd be pretty awesome.
Shit, buy me the popcorn. Buy me my 620 large iced tea and so I don't have to get $15 change back.
And at least give me the collector's club because I like putting those on my shelf after.
Yes, but I want a 2-figure thing on top where I want Laura Croft, and then I want the alien like doing this, like arms are on each other's.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up for those of you who aren't watching. Arm around and thumbs up with a big dumb grin. That's what I want.
But until we get that movie, though, we'll just have to live with these Tomb Raiders and the one that's coming up recently.
I'm okay with that.
Yes, I'm okay with it too. I haven't rewatched these ones in a while, but I'll get to them probably once I eventually get to watching this new one, which comes out in the next week or two. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Tomb Raider. I don't know about you guys.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah, I didn't think Craig
Okay,
had seen
on to
this.
the next one.
So the next thing I had on my list was the Super Mario Brothers movie, which
Okay,
a
yep.
lot of people hate on for not being very accurate to the game, and I, won't disagree with that, but at the same time, the game doesn't exactly have a very good story to it. It's just a princess getting kidnapped and this dude who jumps on things. So in the movie's defense, it had to come up with something. I thought it was pretty creative, some of the stuff it came up with. Yes, it was really wacky, it was really out there. I think I benefited from being a child when I first saw this movie. So that really benefited me in the sense. Like, I definitely think it came up before we were born or just around the time we were born. So I remember watching it on VHS.
1993.
The year we were born, yet again. Wow, so many 93 movies for a second episode in a row. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It's just a fun, goofy ride. It's interesting to see what they just try to do with, the Mario and Luigi character.
You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a reboot of this movie as well.
I'd be down
But
for
I
that.
want to see them. I want to see them make Daisy and Peach. I want to see them make those characters more like Daphne in the Scooby-Doo live-action movies.
Yeah,
where
I
she
like
wasn't the damsel in distress.
That's what I was just
where she
thinking
was
too.
the badass, and she saves herself. And then the corny ass Mario and Luigi get there, like, yeah, we're here to save you.
I like
and
that.
then they're sitting there, Bowser's like skinned, mounted like a bear in the corner, and they're just like eating ribs or something like
Yeah.
that. Just total badasses.
I like that flip too. Like the whole movie is we're following these misadventures of Mario and Luigi attempting to save the princesses. But
Even
the
if this
princesses
was
are
an
saving
animated
themselves.
like short on
Oh, I'd
Netflix,
be
like
100% down for that,
Big
yeah.
Mouth, give me 10 episodes, 26 minutes apiece, and it's them trying to get to Daisy and
Peach.
and Peach. I don't know why I always forget Peach. I only remember Daisy.
It's funny because I'm
Get
the
the-
opposite.
Yeah, Peach is
Put-
like the main character typically.
No, it's Daisy for me. Daisy Buchanan. That's a oh man, that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's a
You gotta be more specific than that.
The
man.
book with the green light at the
The-
end of it.
the Great
Gatsby. That's a Great Gatsby reference for you.
movie podcast.
I remember the characters,
name
can't remember the
anything.
titles.
Yep.
I love that's how you were describing the Great Gatsby. The book with the green thing at the end.
green
What?
There's the
light at
green
the end.
light at the end of the dock. I'm pretty sure that's like a major point.
It is.
Yeah,
but you said I
There's
knew
so
what
many
you were
other
talking
things.
about.
It's a gay gym. That's a Family Guy reference.
Okay.
Anyways, give me the Netflix short, 26 minutes apiece, 10 episodes in the season. Mario and Luigi trying to save Daisy and Peach.
Yeah.
And then Daisy and Peach bust themselves out, and they're like, well, they're coming, we might as well go back, but let's go have some fun, too.
I think it'd be kind of more funny though if actually it's Mario and Luigi are attempting to save them and doing so ends up getting them like captured again or something, so they have to go save the day again or save like Mario and Luigi. Does that make sense? So like,
That would
they
be good, yeah.
escape.
Like, make it reverse. Give us some strong female leads in
Yes,
it.
because that's a trend now. It's a thing.
But
You gotta
Mario
go with
and
the
Luigi
trends.
think they're saving the day
Yeah,
when
but
really they're
off
they're
getting
messing it
themselves
up
into-
more.
Yeah, exactly. So the princess
Okay,
Peach
I
and
can stand
Daisy
by that.
have to go like chasing after, like after they rescue themselves, they have to go chasing after Mario and Luigi, who were off on the wrong world. 'Cause, you know, they got different worlds with Mario, right? They're off on the wrong world looking for these two, and they're screwing everything up in the worlds.
You know, I'm gonna be honest.
Like,
If they made this into a video game, like if they actually made this into like the Nintendo 3DS game or something, I would play it. I would get so pissed that every time I beat a level, you watch like a little 15-second video of Mario and Luigi fucking shit up, and getting captured again. So you're like, God damn it!
Yeah, and
beat 3 levels in a row, and you just get more and more pissed, and like your blood pressure starts to rise.
Yeah,
like I would play that game.
I would.
Nintendo, go ahead and make that for me, please.
And if you already have, well, then you should let us know about it because your marketing's apparently terrible.
Apparently terrible. I would pay my $39.99 for that shit.
Potentially. I'm not sure if I would. I'd also have to get a new console.
I'll buy it. You can borrow it. It's cool.
That works. I can play it while I get my hair cut. Anyways.
Damn right. Next movie.
Next movie I have is Double Dragon. I'm not sure if you guys know what this movie is.
I do not.
No.
Okay,
I'm
so
look
Double
it up
Dragon
while you talk about it.
Is this like Double Rainbow?
I don't know what Double Rainbow is, but Double Dragon is based off of, I believe, an arcade game. And it's about just like these two brothers who end up getting some kind of dragon powers. I can't remember exactly how it is, but then they end up having to like fight evil and save the day. It's wacky. It kind of reminds me of Super Mario in the same kind of, it's just weird and out there kind of movie. But it's kind of enjoyable and it was fun. Again, I benefited from seeing this when I was a very young child.
1994.
Yeah, so I would have probably watched it right after it came out or around when it came out, or once I hit an old enough age to remember it.
Probably a couple years after it came out.
Yeah, I probably watched it on like VHS, like my grandparents. But I just remember, definitely 100% VHS at my grandparents. That's where I watched 90% of my movies growing up. But it's just really fun, enjoyable. As a kid, I always enjoyed any movies that had a set of brothers or siblings in it. Three Ninjas was my favorite thing ever as a kid. But this one especially was cool because two brothers are kind of best friends who are kind of brothers, maybe. They might not have actually been brothers. They might have just been best friends. But I'm assuming they're brothers in my memory of it. But it's just cool.
They were two dragons.
They are brothers.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so they're brothers. They get kind of just dragged into this world of like, mysticism and stuff from the real world, and they just have to go with it. And another cool thing was that that game was also an arcade, because I know it was an arcade game as well because I played that at the cinema in my hometown a few times. So, yeah. That movie's good. You guys should check it out if you're feeling like a just kind of, I want to say terrible.
It has
movie.
no good rating anywhere.
Yeah, well, it's because people are just, because it's not a well-made film, and in the sense that the story has a lot of convoluted things, and it's just stuff happens for the sake of stuff happening sometimes. But it's fun. And at the same time, I have to put a disclaimer. I haven't watched it in 10 years. I'll rewatch it before you guys rewatch it. Let's say that. But anyone who hasn't seen it, I just say if you enjoyed the Super Mario Brothers movie, you would enjoy this because it's that same level of campy, goofy.
Campy and corny,
yeah,
right?
Corny is the best word
Okay.
for it. Yeah, really corny because you're just and they don't take themselves seriously. That's one thing I miss about the movies of the 90s and the 80s. They were meant to be borderline stupid. Exactly, and but they also it was more they were having fun and they were enjoying themselves and this is an out there story. Why are we gonna play it serious, right? Why?
That's why action movies in the 80s and 90s made so much money.
Because they were.
That's how Brian Bosworth became a mainstream.
It's just
household name actor. He's garbage, and his movies are garbage. But I love them all because they're corny and campy.
Exactly, and that's
so Arnold came to be.
It's enjoyable to just watch those types of movies. They're not Oscar winners, but sometimes you don't I don't necessarily like as many Oscar winners. I like to have a good time sometimes, and these movies are just fun and enjoyable. You laugh at them for their stupidity. I kind of equate this to people who like The Room. I don't like The Room personally. I didn't get it. I found The Disaster Artist more enjoyable, but I feel it's that same kind of equivalency. Some people wouldn't understand why I enjoy this, and I don't understand why people would like The Room. Does that make sense?
Sure.
We're here for a good time, not a long time.
On to the next one.
It's
the next one I have is Mortal Kombat, which I'm assuming is on everybody's lists.
Yep, got that.
If you guys haven't both seen them,
if you think it's on my list, you're kidding yourself.
Well, when I said on both your lists, I assumed it was what you would write down, Craig, once we reminded you of it to add to your list that you make while we record.
Yes.
But Mortal Kombat, the 2 Mortal Kombat movies, at least the first 2, I should say. I don't know if there was a bunch of B-rated sequels after those 2, but the first 2, I just again another set of 90s movies that just didn't take themselves too seriously. Just decided to again, I don't know how well they stuck to the video game lore. I'm not the biggest video gamer. I'm not a video gamer at all, to be honest. I haven't played a video game in like a year. So, but
I feel that.
I still enjoyed the Mortal Kombat movies. They're just, fatality, finish him. Just, they're fun. They're just, and again, I benefited, all these, I feel I benefited from being younger when I watched a lot of these, so that helped. So,
Round 2, fight.
yeah.
Actually, I think that was Street Fighter. Now that I mention it.
Yeah, maybe, which is also on my list.
Blanca.
Yeah, but Mortal Kombat.
I remember Street Fighter 2.
It was Street Fighter 2. The video game. It was a video game.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2. I remember that video game. Sorry, that was a Crystalia joke.
References.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where it was from. I heard it before. I kind of understood the reference. I just didn't know where it was from. But Mortal Kombat, again, it was fun. What'd you guys, Andrew, I assume you've seen it, right?
I feel like the last time I saw it, I was 9, maybe 10.
That might have been the last. I definitely watched it last on VHS. I'll be honest.
I definitely know. I remember the over the top ridiculousness of it. And I remember walking over and being like, ah!
Exactly.
For
that's
a
what it makes
week,
you wanna do. Just fight, and it's got a big
shoot
dude
fire
with,
out of my fist,
arms, yeah, and they got the cool costumes. And it's just it was just out there, and it's just I really enjoyed it, and the story was good enough. And it was okay, this seems like a good enough reason to drag a bunch of people to have a fighting contest. Cool.
Yeah, why not?
That's the hardest thing about most of I find if you're gonna try and turn a video game to a movie, is trying to translate that plot of a video game's a lot of you just doing stuff. A movie has to have more substance to it, and I feel this Mortal Kombat did a nice balance of the two, and not taking themselves too seriously. But yeah, this also leads me kind of into, you already mentioned it, Street Fighter, which
Round 2, fight.
The only thing I remember about Street Fighter is Jean-Claude Van Damme being Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Do you need to remember anything else?
Yeah, exactly. I think one of my first Jean-Claude Van Damme experiences growing up, and it just has an over-the-top, straight out of a comic book, but in this case a video game, evil villain, and I can't remember exactly where he's from, but I'd recognized him because he's semi well known. I think
it wasn't Brussels. It wasn't Arnold.
No.
Oh man, I'm drawing a blank. What was the bad guy's name?
It's a dude named Raul Julia.
Maybe.
There we go. Bison.
That's not
Bison?
maybe. That's his name. He died of a stroke.
I don't know if we're thinking of the same person here.
What else was he was in?
The Addams Family.
Street Fighter the movie.
He was in Addams Family Values.
Oh my God! Gomez.
He was Gomez. Okay, so that's probably where I recognized him from as a young kid when I watched that movie.
Excuse me, do you have Addams Family Values yet?
Hey, lady.
I'll tell you when we have Addams Family
Everything
Values.
is a John Mulaney joke.
Everything. We've seen too many comedians.
Yeah, that's the problem this time.
Maybe this should just be a comedians podcast where we just crack jokes.
Where we just make
we recycle their jokes.
Yeah. We already do it enough anyway.
I think that I feel like some of them would frown a little bit upon that because they all have their own podcasts.
Yeah, but we'll give them credit. Don't worry about it.
It's we'll be like a cover band.
Exactly.
I feel like that's more frowned upon in comedy.
We're gonna name our band Krolkus.
Very much so. Absolutely, Krolkus is perfect.
Yep. Except we'll actually have some sound on our records.
Who needs it?
Who needs it?
Not Crocus.
Not Crocus.
That's an incredible inside joke. I feel like we should move on.
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
I was trying to figure out a way to dig my way out of that.
That's like a
so, like, I had
4
no
or
idea.
5 years old inside joke.
It doesn't get any more inside than that joke.
It's so inside that people inside of the podcast don't 100% know at all what it's about.
Nope, just two of
cheers.
us.
Not even 0% know. But next on my list is Doom, just to get it back on track.
Okay, yep. Fuck, man, that was number 1 on my list because I love that movie.
It is great. My brother.
That's my first rock experience.
Same here. I can't remember if I saw the rundown before this or not, but if not, this was my first or second rock experience. My first. Is it Keith or not Keith? No, what's his name?
Keith Urban? Not Keith Urban.
No,
Keith.
it's
No. It's something Urban,
it's
isn't
the
it?
new Judge Dredd and the new Bones.
Yeah.
And I always forget
Carl
his name.
Urban?
Carl.
Carl Urban.
Carl.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carl Urban.
Not Keith. I knew it was Urban.
It's the K that messed me up again.
Yeah.
It's with the
Carl
dyslexia.
Urban.
Yeah.
So badass. And his sister, I forget her name. I can picture her perfectly.
Oh,
I've seen her in a bunch of shit.
Too,
But
but
both of them, they just give attitude the whole time. They're
it's true.
badass.
Yeah, and
The religious. Oh man, that movie was like. It's actually so good.
it's really good. Like the one of the few times you see The Rock as a bad guy. Spoiler.
Oh
for
yeah,
people
and
who
he's
don't-
not even the bad guy the whole time.
That's
It's just
my
like
favorite part
at the
about it.
end.
Yeah, you get it like
Like it's like 5 minutes left in the movie,
oh yeah, it's just
and they got the BFG. Oh, the big fucking gun.
yeah, and then they did that third or first person shooter little part of it. Which I thought
Yes,
was
where
really
they
cool.
where they rip off the game
Yeah,
straight from the
and
game
some people
after he
didn't
gets
like
the
that as
serum in him.
much, but I thought that was really
Oh
cool,
man, that was
especially
awesome.
because they like used the trope of him putting the
Yeah.
the serum, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's good storytelling. Like,
Yeah, get jacked up and then just
yeah, and just
And-
mess stuff up.
and you're seeing it right through his eyes
It
too.
was really enjoyable. Like I hadn't played
Oh,
the
man.
game a lot. Like I had experienced the game before because my aunt and uncle had played Doom a lot, and so whenever I went camping with them, I had tried it a couple times. But seeing that movie finally was just really cool. And like
Oh god, it was so good.
again, it wasn't 100% accurate to I guess the story or the story of the game, but it was a good story and movie itself. And it helped launch The Rock into.
Oh
stardom.
yeah, and me and one of my best friends in middle school, we saw that movie like 5 times over the course of like 2
Oh,
days.
damn.
Like not in theaters, like just
Okay.
at his house. And we watched that shit. He sent me home with him a burned copy of it.
Nice.
I watched that shit. And like we changed our MSN names to like Semper Fi motherfucker. Like pretending to like call each other out.
Space
And I
Marines.
yeah. And I remember like some of our classmates being like concerned that we were having beef. They're like, "Oh my god, are you guys
okay?"
fighting right now?" And we're like, "Yeah, like what the fuck are you talking about?" Like, well, you said you're gonna BFG each other and Semper Fi, like motherfucker. Like, are you calling each other out? And we're like, we have the same fucking like name on MSN. Like, it's the same thing.
MSN days when you'd have drama
Yeah.
over what your username was, and now you can't change.
And it wasn't even drama. And it was just because that movie was so gosh darn good.
So good. Like I don't know if I saw it in theaters at all because I think this was a time when I was too young to see certain movies in theaters, but I definitely saw it on DVD
100%.
right after. And yeah, that DVD got used a lot because it's an enjoyable, fun movie again. I like fun movies, and this was a fun movie.
I loved the nicknames that everyone had, and like when they grabbed the handle and it like automatically like registered and said their name, I was like, oh yes.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I gotta rewatch
Duke.
this. It's been a while since.
Was
I
it
watched
Duke, Bulldozer, or something like that? Reaper,
It's
badass.
been a while since I've seen it.
God, oh, so good.
High school
so
days
good.
for me at least. But yeah, Doom's great. Shall I go into the next one on my list?
It's,
Yes,
it's
please.
great.
It's great. It's great. Okay, so that maybe Craig has something to input. I'll say something that's more recent. The Assassin's Creed movie.
Nope.
Which, yeah, I know. All right, this is
Do you even know who was in it, Craig?
Not without looking it up.
Michael Fassbender.
nice.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you that in the first place.
Yeah, we know that, Craig. You only recently saw Batman v Superman.
I didn't
But-
even watch
And
it
I'm-
yet.
What? You cued it. You sent us a picture of it.
He had it ready to go, and then he just
I
left
know.
his TV.
You
I know,
Snapchatted me a picture of it ready to go.
But so I was like, I'm gonna watch this, and then I was like, man, I'm tired. I'm not gonna put it on because then I'll miss it. So I put something else on, which I'm gonna talk about in my what I watched this week.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Instead of Batman.
I was
v
so
Superman.
proud of you.
I'll watch
I
it.
even watched it this weekend.
I'll watch it.
Oh, man.
I'll watch it again. I'll actually watch it.
I'll watch it again.
watch
Did you say I'll watch it again?
I'll watch it. I'll watch it.
Oh my god,
First time. Anyways,
Jesus.
Michael Fassbender in Assassin's Creed. This one was. I like this movie as its own movie. I enjoyed the Assassin's Creed games. They're one of the few actually video games that I've actually played and played the whole way through. So when this movie was getting made, I was pretty intrigued to see how they were going to use some of the game dynamics and bring them into the movie. And a couple things weren't great, but for the most part, I really enjoyed this movie because I thought it was an interesting take on the mythos that was made from the video games. But it's also pretty forgettable because I watched this like 3 months ago, and I can't remember a lot about it. So,
Truth be told, I haven't seen it yet. I want to. I remember wanting to see it in theaters and just never getting around to it.
I think it got
I want to
crowded out
see
by
it,
other
and
stuff.
I like the concept of the games. I've never
Yeah.
played those either because, like you said, not gamers here.
No.
I never played them, but I like the concept of it and how it like actually ties in like historically accurate shit into it.
Semi.
Like not like what happened per
Okay,
se,
yeah.
but like
you
around
did.
the fact. Like what
Okay.
is it? The new ones, the last one that came out takes place in Egypt,
Yeah, I think that's
and like
the
you
most
actually get to
recent
see
one.
like shit going on in Egypt, like
Yeah,
ancient
yeah. My
Egypt and
favorite
all
one
that
was
stuff.
the one where they're in America in the like turn of the century.
Okay, yeah,
when-
colonial days, yeah.
exactly. You get to meet
Yeah.
George Washington. And it's like, well, that's not 100% historically accurate, but it's cool that you get to meet George Washington. In the first game,
Oh,
you
yeah.
meet Da Vinci. He's the one who makes your thing. Your stabby
Yep.
knife. Da Vinci makes
Yep.
the stabby knife in the video game. I remember that. But yeah, they're good games. I'd recommend
It
them.
would be fucking awesome if that was true. If Da Vinci was actually like secretly making shit for this secret society. Oh, that'd be amazing.
Which we might not know because it could be possible. We don't know if the assassins are real.
Well, I mean, we know assassins are real. We don't know
I
if
meant
they're
the
if they're part of a
Assassin's
creed.
Yeah, I don't know if they've got a
They're not Apollo up in this bitch.
nice.
That was an
yeah, I got
Apollo
that
Creed.
Rocky reference. I
Rocky
actually
reference.
understood that reference for once. I just had to enjoy it myself before. But yes, Assassin's
Oh, I needed to clarify for Craig. I wasn't sure.
Okay,
No.
that's fair. Okay, well, I only have one last movie on my list, and
Okay.
it's Prince of Persia, which was with Jake.
Oh, with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, this one wasn't. This wasn't my favorite, but I was
I
happy
saw it.
that they made one based off the video game. This again was one of the few video games I've ever played and beat, so I was just happy they made a movie. It was a disappointment though.
I
but
saw three quarters of it
That's fair.
at Tyler Moss's house one weekend in 12B. And let me tell you, I don't
Dies for our
remember.
listeners.
Let me tell you, I don't remember a damn thing. And I remember sitting there the whole goddamn time thinking, why the fuck am I here?
That's fair. It wasn't a great movie. I can admit that. But compared to some other video game movies, it's not the worst. I should say. That's all I have to say about it. It's not. The
I think
worst.
part of it for me is like, if it's not love and other drugs, I just don't give a shit about anything that involves Jake Gyllenhaal.
That's fair.
Like,
That's fair.
oh
like
man,
him
what
as
was the one in the
choice.
Gulf War? Oh.
I like see,
Jarhead. I didn't mind Jarhead, but I think that was more of a
I don't
Jamie
think I ever
Foxx thing
watched
than
that,
him.
to be honest.
Like I just something about him. Like I feel like he just got so much credit for something he didn't really accomplish. Kind of like Ryan Gosling. Like I put them in the same
Yeah.
category of just
I can see
being
that.
being famous and being like, yeah.
I think it's because they became famous when we were in like around high school days when they were
Yeah.
starting to become famous, and they got famous for like things that we didn't particularly watch.
I
and
feel
stuff
like it
that.
was they got famous because of this.
Yeah. Yeah, and you, I feel like you resented that a little bit. And,
Probably. I mean, I love the movie Love and Other Drugs.
Yeah.
Might be because Anne Hathaway shows stuff, and I'm very okay with that. But I don't know, man. Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Gosling, like if they made a tandem movie, ugh, God, no, couldn't do it.
No,
I I would only enjoy it if they acted at the calibers that they did, that Ryan Gosling does in The Big Short and Jake Gyllenhaal did in Nightcrawler, because I enjoyed both those movies.
I've not seen Nightcrawler, but I did enjoy him in The Big Short. I can admit that. But I don't have as much of a problem with him as you do. I do have a slight more problem with Ryan Gosling, because I'm like, he got famous for a terrible movie. I hate The Notebook so much.
Like the entire movie, end of watch, him and Michael Pena, they're partners working for the LAPD, and they're badasses. Yeah. And I spent the whole movie just thinking, yo, Michael Pena, just right in his back of his head, just do it, man, just do it. You'll get a better partner. I swear to God.
To be the twist
I
of this
swear
movie.
to God.
I want that to be the turn that nobody saw coming. He just shoots his partner. Ryan Gosling's out in 5 seconds into this movie. It's not starring him at all. All
or
the
not,
promotional
or
material
Jake Gyllenhaal, not.
Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal, not.
I didn't know which we were talking about.
We're just so pissed off about both of them.
What do you? So that means you'd probably be really upset if he did become the new Batman, which is a completely off topic of what we're talking about. But kind of on topic.
And I'm super biased because John Hamm is my man.
Yes.
Like I would fondle that guy. I'd cradle his needles. But there's no way I would ever sign off on Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman, because I feel like he would just dumb it the fuck down.
That's
like
fair.
I can't take a dumb Batman seriously, and I feel like that's exactly what he would do.
He has kind of a dumb guy look to him. Like he does. Like you look into his eyes and you're like, oh, you're like a child on the inside, aren't you? He just has that look to him. Like
that, and I can already see the memes that people are going to draw up.
Based
off of with his sister playing Rachel Dawes in taking over for Katie Holmes in The Dark Knight. People drawing up some bullshit memes of like them like going to kiss or something like that, and like just thinking about boils my blood.
That's fair. So to get off,
I
was gonna bring it. I was trying to bring it back to the podcast.
Bring us back before I turn into the Hulk.
My list was done, so I was gonna throw it to you, but then I realized we are gonna have you last, so I'm throwing it to Craig. Craig, what video game movies do you like or even know of?
All right,
or have seen?
Part of what I like about this podcast is that I rarely interpret the topics the way that everybody else. So you're talking about Tron. You better believe I'm talking about Tron.
I stand by it. I've got a couple of movies that are based off of video games.
So Scott, you did all video game movies that were based on actual video games.
Yes.
And the entirety of my list before I sat down was all movies that include video games in them.
I figured that might be the way we go with this. This happens sometimes with us.
I have 2 movies like that myself on this list, so I'm okay with it.
So cool. I have Tron and Tron Legacy, obviously. Yep. I don't think we need to talk about why, because
you guys have tried to convince me to watch the first Tron a lot of times on this podcast.
You still have it? No, I'm kidding.
It's not on Netflix.
We have beaten Tron into the ground, I think. Yes. So we'll move on from that old piece of technology to Wreck-It Ralph, which is another one on my list.
Nice. I've never seen that.
I had that on my list too.
Yep. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't really know how much of it I remember, so we're not even going to have a discussion about it.
Until we get to Andrew's list.
Exactly. Then we can talk about it. I have War Games on my list.
Okay, nice. I like that term.
Yeah, super. It's a kind of an obscure.
You know War Games?
Yeah. That's the first shock I should point out. Like, oh, you've seen War Games, Craig, but at the same time,
I was doing a Family Guy thing myself.
Yes. Yeah.
You've seen War Games? There's a nerd in there. I'm gonna bang her later.
Half the 80% of you guys is Family Guy. The references just. I'm 5 years behind on Family Guy. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, I can't remember people's names, but movie and comedian references.
I know.
Vault.
I know.
Vault. Who the hell is Peach? I don't know. I know Daisy.
So I figured War Games would be the obscure reference on my list because it's about.
It threw us off.
Yeah,
so.
It's about a video game, but it's not about a video game. So
it is and isn't. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I have Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle on there too. I wasn't
okay.
very happy about
I had that on my list. Yep.
Yeah. But I want to end it off because Scott reminded me of it. All of Scott's were video game first, then movie, but I have one on my list that is movie first, then video game. Does anybody want to guess at what that one might be?
Ooh. Pokemon.
It could literally be anything, man. Like almost every movie gets a video game
It
nowadays.
was one of the better movies of the 80s, critically acclaimed, done by a very famous director. And it is heralded to be the worst video game of all time.
Hit me with an actor in it.
You gotta say what it is, man. We don't know what you're talking about at all.
I couldn't tell you an actor in it. It was directed by Steven Spielberg.
A video game movie?
A movie that was turned into a video game. That is the worst video game of all time. E.T.
Duck
the
Hunter.
Extraterrestrial.
They made a video
It
game?
is the worst video game ever made. Almost killed Atari. Oh yeah. They had to there's a whole documentary on it on Netflix, but they had to bury all of the
So E.T. stands for extremely terrible.
Yeah, it was the worst video game ever made.
That's interesting. I don't know how you'd
Hot
turn
damn.
that necessarily into a video game.
That
I
was
also
part of the
don't know how
problem.
You make too many video games. Like I've seen some really bad video games though in my time, so it's like it doesn't surprise me too much. Especially ones that are based like once we try to turn a movie into a video game, that's a different story than the other way around. Both ways don't play well because they're both just different medians. And
Yeah, exactly. So that's my list.
That's a pretty solid list.
nice and quick. I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So you guys crushed most of my list, but not all. I'm going to start off Hitman.
Okay.
Do you guys remember those movies?
Yeah, no, I know there's a few of them. I haven't seen any of them. That's why they're not
There's
on my
two
list.
of them. I haven't seen Hitman 47.
Okay.
Not sure if I
Agent
ever
47?
will. Agent 47, that one.
Yeah.
But I like the first one
Okay.
because, truth be told, I have a slight man crush on Timothy Olyphant.
Fair enough.
Something about him. His hair, maybe. Beautiful. So I got that movie. That wasn't number one on my list.
Okay.
I deleted most of it because as you guys name movies that are on my list, I get rid of them, so I don't talk about them too much. So I got Hitman. Next up on my list, I've got I got Ratchet and Clank.
Was that made into
That
a
one,
movie?
yep, came out a couple years ago. My brother and I
Yeah.
went to see it.
Oh,
I
I,
remember
Ray
the
was
movie
super
coming
excited
out.
to see it.
I thought that had got canceled, to be honest.
2016.
Nope.
How was
It
that
happened,
movie?
and it was awesome.
Was it? Okay, that's good.
I can't remember. I'm gonna Google it right now. I can't remember who was in it.
James Arnold
But-
Taylor, David Kay.
Was it an
Belle
animated?
Thorne.
or
Sylvester
like a CG?
Stallone.
Yeah, it was animated. No, it was animated.
Sylvester Stallone, Paul Giamatti.
Yes, yep. I remember Paul Giamatti and Sylvester Stallone.
Okay, what's the story?
Oh, it's
about a
great.
little bit? Like,
It's right from the video game.
oh, okay.
It's
chasing stuff?
it's Ratchet wanting to become like the Space Ranger or whatever,
Okay.
and never really being given the chance. And then he meets Clank, and he the little robot,
Yeah.
and then they hook up, and Clank gives him like the suit and the armor, and like helps him kind of weasel his way through everything to become the Ranger.
Oh, okay.
And then the actual Ranger, who I can't remember his name. It's not Chip Hazard. I know that because that's Small Soldiers, or Toy Soldiers. I can't remember his name, but the
Just call him
actual
Chip
Ranger's
Hazard
like
anyways.
yeah. He's a total puss. He's a pushover. Never really done anything special himself. Kind of fucks everything up. Goes a little evil, not totally evil, just a little bit.
Okay.
And then like everything comes full circle, like the way you imagine a video game will.
Yeah.
And it's actually very well done. My brother and I went to see it. We were the only people in there above the age of 14, and
that sounds
it was worth it. I mean, granted, I think he was like 16 at the time, so barely over.
Yeah.
But he accompanied me because I wanted to see it, and it was awesome. Thanks, James.
Right on. I'll actually try and find that somewhere online.
Yeah, man,
One of
I
my-
definitely recommend it.
Nice. All right. Well, what's next on your list then?
Okay, next on my list, I've got Pokemon. Because it was both TV show, anime, and video game. And let me tell you, the movies, I remember being a kid and eating that shit up. Didn't like the TV show.
Okay.
Did not like the TV show.
But
There
you
was a
like the
couple episodes.
movies.
I like the movies better than the TV show.
Well, I can agree with that part. Like the movies, the first 3 movies are so much better than the TV show ever was.
So good because they move a lot quicker.
Yeah, they've got stuff going on, and they've got like actual plots. Like
Yeah.
the TV show, like I haven't been able to rewatch Pokemon, like the TV show, because I'm like, oh, this is this is like Dragon Ball Z. A whole lot
yeah.
of nothing happens every
Yeah.
episode.
Like
for
we said in
talking.
one of our earliest episodes, 6 seasons in, and they haven't done anything.
Not a single Pikachu attack. Like, what?
Not even one. Use Thunderbolt.
4 episodes later. Yeah, so like the movies were a nice change of pace, and I really, especially the first 2. I can't remember the third one as well, but the first 2 with Mewtwo, and then the addition of
Yeah, Pokemon the movie.
yeah,
And then you got Pokemon the movie 2000 with Lugia.
yeah, Lugia. That
Was
was
a
the other
badass
yeah.
one. I think the third one was Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I actually did watch the third one or not. Now that I'm thinking of it.
I own it. I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I know what it's, which one's in
Yeah.
it. But I have no idea if I watched it or if I'm mixing it up.
I know for a fact that I own it. I'm just not sure I've ever seen the third one.
Did you get like the
But the
3-pack of the movies from Amazon?
I have the first 2 on VHS.
Oh snap!
And then I went to buy the third one because I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And it came in the 3-pack, which was
Nice.
cheaper than buying it individually. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
I've almost
click.
bought that 3-pack a couple
Yeah.
times off
Yeah.
of Amazon.
Yep. So next on my list, I've got Resident Evil.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured.
I'm not-
I left that
I'm be
'cause I
honest with
figured
you.
might like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got Resident Evil. I haven't seen most of the movies. I think I've seen like the
Well, 'cause
first 2,
there's
and that is it.
6 now. There's 6. I gave up after 3 or 4.
I put them in the same boat as the Fast and Furious movies to me, where they just hit a
That's-
certain point where I was like,
They're-
the Resident would have been less evil by now, or it would have taken everything over.
Everyone would have been dead by now. Like, come on.
However, I did enjoy the 2 that I did see.
Yes, the first 2 were
It's
really
just-
good.
Yeah,
Like they're really.
and then it
enjoyable.
just hit.
The third one is where it kind of goes off the rails when they start giving her weird powers and
Yeah.
cloning her more and just making no sense. But maybe it made no sense because I never played any of the video games.
That's possible, yeah, because I know I didn't play any of them.
Yes,
So
again, we never played video games except for Madden. Yeah.
go Bears.
The Bears.
Next up, the Bears. Next on my list, I don't know if you guys remember the movie. It's got, wow, man, Mark Wahlberg, Mila Kunis, Ludacris. It's got Chris O'Donnell, who I have a soft spot in my heart for Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah,
Like
my Robin.
I loved him as Robin.
I did too.
Loved him as Robin.
he's the Robin I grew up
I thought
with.
he was a good Robin. He was who I grew up with
I
as
didn't
Robin.
know. See, like that's one thing I hate about when people hate on those movies. Cause those were literally came out as I was a child. So that's
Yeah.
the Robin I grew up with. He was the first Robin.
Well, he's
I ever
he's
saw.
in the new NCIS or whatever, I think, isn't he?
No, the
NCIS.
new, Lethal Weapon, I believe.
He was on.
He is in
was
Lethal Weapon, but I'm
on-
pretty sure he's
been on NCIS since
Yes, yeah.
2003, and he was on NCIS.
yeah, him and
Los Angeles
the
since
LL Cool J one, right?
Yes, Los Angeles.
And yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is he also in Lethal Weapon, or am I just getting those two shows mixed up?
I think you have them confused because I don't
Yep,
see it
okay.
on this list.
That makes sense then. I just got him
Yeah.
mixed up with another actor.
Yep, another white guy. But
look
yeah,
the
Chris
same.
Chris O'Donnell. I've got a soft spot for him.
Yeah, same here. But what's the movie
But anyways,
you were talking about? That's based
Max
off
Payne.
Max Payne. I didn't enjoy that movie.
Really? Oh man,
This came out when we were in high school, right? I think.
yeah, I think we went to see
We
it
might
together.
have. I might have just. I was like, did we go with Adam again? Because there was a lot of movies we went and saw.
I'm
with
pretty
Adam.
sure Adam and Steven were there.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
I
pretty
can
sure
I can
too.
distinctly remember Steven being there.
Yeah, and I.
Pick any movie you saw in high school, and they were probably there.
Yeah. Oh,
That's possible.
went
I mean,
to-
Adam did drive our asses around a lot in grade 11.
That's very true, especially me. Between you and Adam, I would have gotten nowhere in high school.
But no, man, I love that movie. I watched it and I loved it, and then I didn't watch it again for like a couple years.
Yeah.
And I happened to be babysitting one night, and the kids were asleep, and I'm laying there on the person I'm babysitting for's couch. And I turned the TV on, and Max Payne comes on. And I was like, that name sounds familiar. What's this? And I click on. I was like, oh shit, this is such a good movie. I forgot, and it sticks with me. I love that movie.
I just remember not knowing or being confused while watching it, and I don't get
It
confused
gave
by
you
movies very much.
max headache pain.
I think so, yeah. And maybe I just was very unfocused with while watching it. Like maybe we were all distracted or whatever. But I don't know. I just don't remember. I just remember I was excited for it when I saw the trailers and stuff, and then when I went and saw it, I was kind of a little like not. I don't want to say disappointed. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Because I don't like saying I was like disappointed in a movie. It just didn't do it for me.
It just didn't stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't stick. It's got Chris O'Donnell, man, and do me a favor, watch it again.
I might. 'Cause I think
Read the Wikipedia synopsis and then watch it again.
That sounds like a good actually idea because then I'll understand it a little bit better.
Because then you'll fully understand, and then as you watch the movie, you'll be able to take it and be like, you know what, this is pretty damn good.
Okay. Well, I'll write that down since we were talking about it before the podcast. How I always forget to write down our recommendations, and I just started.
There we go.
And then you never watch Kroll Show.
Kroll Show. When you guys were referring to that, I'm like, I hope I caught the name of that right.
Yep, Kroll Show.
Kroll Show. I'm writing that down too.
Don't worry,
Andrew,
it's coming back up. It's coming back up.
It's coming back up.
What's next on your
Oh
list?
my god. The next one, I got Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Right.
That's my movie.
That is the
That's a
most-
movie based around a video game.
Okay, because that's based off of a comic book. Actually, I'm not sure if you knew that.
Well, he has video games in the movie.
It is a video game. Like he's
Yeah.
pretty much
It's a video game. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty obscure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that though. I've been meaning to rewatch that lately because it's on both.
Me and Craig rewatched it a couple weeks ago.
Or 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Maybe that's what put it into my head.
You need-
Maybe.
You need to get in on this mindset.
The mind link.
Yeah. You'll
Yeah,
never
it's-
miss anything.
It's weird how I'm always left out of it, but
Like we've said before, it's usually one of us watching one thing,
Yeah.
mentioning that we're watching it to the other, and then the other's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna dive into that. Let's
that's
do this."
exactly how I watched Batman v Superman this weekend.
Because yep,
Friends
well
out there, and I
that
was like,
Even
yeah,
though I didn't watch it.
that's a movie you can never regret watching though. That's
For me,
biblical
for me,
almost.
like,
Yeah.
especially, I love that movie. It gives me chills. But anyways, back to what
So
you were
I've
talking
got,
about.
so that's the end of my list. I just want to say, I would love to see a live action version made of the Splinter Cell games.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie.
Give me a live action movie of that and Metroid.
Hated. Oh,
Metroid?
Metroid would be pretty
Interesting.
cool too.
I would love a Metroid.
I'd like to
Even
see
if
the way
it doesn't have to be
adapt.
live action, make it animated. I just
Or
want to see a
CGI.
Metroid movie. Yeah.
CGI is so good now. It's like, well, why not just put a bunch of dudes in ping pong suits, play out the Metro thing, and
Oh yeah,
paste Metro on them after.
give us a CGI movie that was just as good as it was in the '90s, like Reboot and Beast Wars. That would blow my freaking mind.
I like how you went to those two specifically. Those are
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorite 90s. A couple of my favorite.
I
90s
remember
TV
thinking that
shows.
was the best animation I've ever seen as a kid, only to find out it's one of the cheapest ways they could have made it.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay.
I
Well,
liked it.
Rhinox was shiny as shit, so I stand by it.
So true. So.
But that completes my list of video game movies, and I just want to see Metroid.
Nice. Okay. I like that suggestion. If I had to pick one video game to get adapted into a movie, it would be Batman Arkham Asylum.
Boom, those would be good.
'Cause
You know what? I don't know if I told you. I think we talked about it. I recall talking about it on the podcast. Not sure if it's correct or not. But the Injustice games,
Yes. Those I'd
Yeah.
also love to see too. I actually had a
they are a movie. Like go on YouTube. I think it might have.
Oh,
We
well,
definitely talked about it at some point. Go
because-
on YouTube
yeah.
and watch it without the fight scenes because
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's
is a
Mortal
movie.
Kombat for DC characters. So you just watch the movie and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've kind of watched that, sort of. I've also read or watched videos about the comic books because they made a comic
Yep.
book series about it
Yeah.
after. But I would like to see like a live action. I've kind of thought that might be the way they were going when Batman v Superman came out and they had like the Flash, like from the future little thing.
Yeah, it kind of popped through.
And he's like,
yeah.
it's Lois. You have to save Lois. So I'm like, yo, he has to save Lois. Otherwise Superman goes bad and takes over the Earth, like you see in that little flashback
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, they were just
Yeah.
building up to Injustice, but then somewhere along the way, somebody did keep that as a cue card, and they forgot about it. And I'm like, wait.
They left it on a table. A janitor threw it out by
And
accident.
they just forgot. I'm like, but no,
Yeah.
that would have been a good build-up. That would make so much sense in this universe too. Why it's so kind of
Yeah.
dark. That it's this is a dark universe where guess what? Not Batman, Superman goes crazy eventually. And I'm like, I could see Jared Leto going like being the Joker of that story, killing like convincing him to kill like it would fit so perfectly, and they still kind of could do it. Justice League kind of turned it away from that, but it's such an easy like story to turn into from the DCU.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You just have to get the Joker.
They don't even need to do like a full build up into it.
No, it's
just like you start the movie 5 minutes into a mission, and then it goes wrong.
And it goes. That's exactly like.
How many movies have we seen that start with that exact same tempo where they fuck something up, and it's like you're in the middle of the movie when it starts. Like you're in the middle of something. It starts. It happens, and you're like, "Oh damn! Did I miss something?" No, that's how it starts.
I figured out how they can do this.
Hit me.
Batman v Superman 2. Dawn of Injustice. Oh
shit!
Oh goddamn!
What?
I deserve $100 million just for that idea and that title.
Yep. Craig and I deserve $2 million because we were associated with the podcast.
Yes, that was just like I would give all my money. I don't have a lot of money, but I would give it all for that. Like if there was a GoFundMe, like if DC had to start a GoFundMe to get that movie made because they didn't want to risk their own money, I would spend all my days pushing that GoFundMe to everybody I know, being like, "Yo, we're funding this movie because I want to see that."
Except instead of Dawn of Injustice, can we make it like Dusk of Injustice?
That works.
Just to like
better.
reverse that shit.
I like it because Injustice is technically reversed anyways. I like it. People would still understand it, and we could just turn it. And then we have the dark. We just have the dark Injustice universe to go from with the DCEU, and we can just have light spin-offs from that. But that was a weird tangent I just went on for.
I stand by it. Like that sounds fucking awesome, man.
I would love to see that. If I could pick one video game, that right there. If I could have one wish, actually, it would just be that right there to be done.
What about you, Craig? You can't say Angry Birds because it was already taken.
No. Actually, I was the first thing that came to mind is after having
Pokemon Go.
No, after having played through Battlefront 2.
That'd be pretty sweet.
I don't know if I'd want to see that storyline done as a movie since I feel like I've already seen the entire storyline. But that
that's because that's what it is, right? Yeah, it's pretty much it's along the same lines as what Andrew was saying about the Injustice thing on YouTube. Like, I think you can go on YouTube and watch the same Battlefront 2. Like
the story parts.
The cinematic scenes is what they call. I think they're technically called, and it's like which I could see. Like I could see that. I've heard that. That's the main thing I heard about the second one. Is that had a pretty good story. And I believe really it's canon too. I think that's actual like part of the Star Wars lore.
It follows the storyline really well, so wouldn't surprise me if it is.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a licensed product. Yeah. So
I'm about 80% sure that that's like canon now too, because everything now going forward is supposed to be canon pretty much, except for like the really like small things like. They're children's books where Darth Vader teaches children how to read. I don't think that's technically canon, but
it should.
You don't know, man. He might be trying to raise Imperial kids.
That should be.
What if
he feels guilty about his kids? So
I would love if that's how they kind of printed it, as if it was Imperial propaganda, like for the kids. Like
that would be pretty awesome.
You add like it's like the books are written as if you live in the Star Wars universe, and they're like
that would be pretty sweet.
It's Darth Vader teaching kids to read because. That's the Empire's PR way of trying to like be
make
good,
him seem
like
trying
to
to
win over everybody.
Make him seem like he's not that bad of a person. You don't.
It's like it's like, and you just get like commercials where somebody's like some PR guy from the Empire's like pushing these books, being like, teach your kids how to read alongside our protector and whatever, Darth Vader. That'd be great. I don't know how I got onto that, but Craig, I agree with what you said about making that potentially into a movie. That would be an interesting storyline.
Yeah, it definitely kept my attention because normally you kind of don't want to sit through the cut scenes in a video game too much, but that one was like that kept my attention the entire time.
Well, speaking of keeping your attention. What kept your attention this week other than Batman versus Superman?
Which you didn't watch.
Which I didn't watch. I just said I was going to. So I'm gonna let you go into Kroll Show, but I'll mention that I watched it. Okay. And this goes to further.
Bro, you watched Kroll Show?
Of course I watched Kroll Show.
Yeah, it's Bobby B.
This goes
Bobby
to
Bottle Service.
AKA Bobby
Bottle Service.
So I watched that. I watched the newest episode of the Joel McHale Show, which continues to be awesome.
Awesome.
Delightful. Did you notice
exactly.
the new end credit song?
Of
for this
course,
episode?
because they only say it.
I did not notice the
They
new end
call it
credits
out.
for
They're
this
like,
one.
so apparently people listen to the credits at the end, so I had to come up with another song, something like that. I can't really do the
Damn.
the singing.
Mine skipped over it. Like I was watching it on my TV, and like if I watch it on my phone, my laptop, my tablet, doesn't skip. I watch it on my TV, however, auto skip.
Yeah.
That's not good.
So I watched that instead of watching Batman vs Superman, because I already mentioned it to you guys. I decided I was okay. So I didn't want to.
I don't even want to hear it, man.
I didn't want to have happen to me what happened when I watched Captain Phillips, is it, with Tom Hanks, where I slept through the
Yep.
entire thing. I didn't want that
Yep.
to happen with Batman versus Superman.
I'm Captain now.
So that's a Family Guy reference if you're really paying attention. So instead, I decided to watch a garbage throwaway series like History's Greatest Hoaxes, and so I napped through most of it. But I got out of it that they faked Hitler's diaries. Man, what else was there? Some guy made a bogus archaeology discovery in England.
Nice.
There was, I don't know if you've seen the alien dissection video from like the 40s. That was a hoax. All kinds of stuff like that. I picked up bits and pieces of it, napped in and out of it. So that's what I watched instead. I don't recommend watching it. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
it wasn't planning. I skip a lot of those shows. There's a few I've checked out because I'm curious about some of them, like the religious ones where they're like, trying to like see, like looking into like different religious like claims and stuff like that, and,
Yeah.
like religious history. So those ones I find kind of interesting. Some of them are just so
I can't remember
out there, and I'm just like, you did no research. Like, did you not go to high school? Like, you don't know how to do research. Like, you didn't form an argument. What was this show?
What?
There's one particular documentary series that's actually really good. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say it's something along the lines of Wonders of the Industrial World or something like that.
Oh, Wonders of the Industrial Age. Yeah.
It's all about like how they built the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah, I've
and,
watched that series. It's really good.
Yeah, that one.
And how many people jumped off it?
How many people died underneath it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they basically built underwater tanks to build the pylons. It's
so
crazy.
fascinating. I did not like. I've never known how like they like built a bridge like that. Like I've always thought I knew, and then
Yeah.
when I watched that, I was like, oh wow, this is
Turns
crazy.
out we don't know.
Well,
This
like
is why it's
because-
such a big deal. I'm like, oh, this is actually a hard thing to do. You don't just drop rocks to the bottom and build on top of it or
Yep.
whatever. Like some like fantasy idea. Like they had to like construct this crazy thing, and like half of it was just the pressure of the weight of the bridge. They just kind of kept building on top of it, and the pressure and the weight pushed it down into the ground, and they just kind of kept doing it until it was deep enough that it's really fascinating.
That and how they got under there with divers' bells. It just
Yeah.
was
Just-
like, because now they build everything with cranes and
Exactly.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And
whereas back then it was all manual labor. It's really, I agree with you, Craig. It's one of the best documentary series I've ever seen. It's a good mix of reenactment and like actual like factual telling of it.
Yeah.
I found, if I'm remembering it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah,
don't
so
nap through that one is basically what we're
Do
saying.
not. You can't. I don't think you could really like. Unless you don't find that kind of stuff interesting, because I'm not a big documentary guy, because like a lot of them can be a little dull, but that one I found like really fascinating.
See, I find sometimes if I'm not watching like a nature documentary, I get sucked in. Like, who the fuck figured this out?
Exactly.
And I start coming up with like these crazy, lucid ideas that like there's something like pulling the strings behind something else. Like, I think I've told both you guys before. My I can't wrap my head around metal. Like, who the fuck figured out that metal was a thing?
Oh,
Like, who looked at a rock and was like, hot damn, that's a shiny rock. I'm going to make that hot. And when I make it hot, it's going to liquefy. And then when it liquefies, I'm going to bang the shit out of it and make a new shape. And if I hit it off another metal, it's going to get harder. And who decided the anvil was like the perfect shape to use as an anvil?
well, see,
And where did the first cutouts for this
I
shit
think,
come?
I think the problem is that we're at such like an advanced level that we can't understand where it started from. Does that make sense? Because they didn't start with the anvil. Anvil is an eventual thing.
No, it took a while,
Yeah.
but I look at this shit and I'm like, who the fuck figured this shit out?
I
And it's too much. My tiny ass mind can't wrap it around. Like, I look at a shiny rock now, and my first thought isn't, if I make this hot, it's going to turn into a liquid, and I can save the day with it. No, I look at a shiny rock now, and I'm like, ooh, shiny. And that's now. Like, I can't imagine, like, some caveman type thing somewhere fucking, or some dude back in Egypt being like, I'm going to heat up this stone and turn it into a fucking liquid. Like, no way. I don't believe... Like, I know some people who don't know jack shit. There's no way a modern day person who's arguably more educated than someone way the fuck back then, there's no way one of those people could figure it out.
See,
I'm calling time travel.
I would argue
We
that
have people today that can figure out how to put a quantum computer together. They're not the average person.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. It's just
you would have had really smart people back then who figured out all the stuff that you're talking about.
I just feel like
And
our
you said it was a
average
smart person.
citizen.
I'm saying it was probably an accident. Like, that's one thing about a lot of discoveries is they start off as accidents. It was, some lightning struck a certain rock, and then they noticed that, or like something like that. Oh, like there was a forest fire, and they end up finding, this ore.
Yeah, man,
or something like that. Like,
I don't have that
you-
much confidence in the human race.
well, see,
We suck.
I disagree because we're curious individuals though. Like, that's one thing about humans that is different from a lot of other species is that we're really curious and fascinated. Like, cause I can.
Have you ever met a cat, bro? Like, have you ever met a cat?
Yeah, I grew up with cats. Cats are kind of curious, but they're not. They're nosy. They're not curious. Like, they're just like,
Okay.
yo, what's going on? Okay, there's no food for me? Okay, fuck off. And then they go back to sleep. That's what a cat does.
Okay.
Whereas humans,
The fact
we're like,
that animals know if something is hot not to touch it, and then humans touch it, I just don't
no,
think the human race is smart enough to have figured this shit out.
but we did. That's the problem. Like, we have.
I can't give us credit for it.
You're
I just
literally
can't.
using a dozen inventions that you couldn't make, like, by hand for yourself.
No, I could
But
not.
That doesn't mean that no humans ever couldn't think of that idea.
No, I just don't think as a society. No, I can't do it, man. This is way off topic.
Guys, so
this is
we're
why I
having
don't
a
watch
debate or a
doc.
TV topic.
We're having
This
a
is why the
debate.
only documentaries I watch are either war based
Yeah.
or based around nature.
Yeah.
Like that.
I
That's
can't
all
do
my
this.
tiny ass mind can handle.
Conspiracy theory ones make me annoyed because I'm just like, oh, you people are dumb.
Okay.
None of you took a class.
Some like
Okay, I
most
won't-
of
I
the
don't- that's
conspiracy
fine, yeah.
theories out there are fucking crazy.
I don't wanna-
Unless it's
yeah.
on Kroll Show, and it's got lizard people.
I don't wanna,
involved.
like-
That's the only time it works.
I don't mean to put them all in the same pile. That was a very generic way to say it. I think most conspiracy theories and most movies about conspiracy theories are kind of dumb. And what I mean by that is that they don't actually have any kind of proper methodology to their research or to their rationale to their thinking. But that has nothing really to do with anything. Let's get back to what
If
people
I
watch this
if I
week.
may interject,
Yes.
I watched the Frankenstein Chronicles this week.
Oh, nice. How'd you like that? I was thinking about watching that.
So, it's good so far.
good.
I'm not really I'm not really a drama person, but it's keeping my interest because I'm kind of interested in in the subject matter because it's not
Yeah.
about Frankenstein.
No.
It's about like early England, and it's based around Sean Bean,
Yeah.
Sean Bon.
a detective basically, and he's trying to solve the disappearance of children who they found a girl, and you can't see the air quotes because you guys can't see me, but who was actually made out of like the body parts of 8 different kids all stitched together, and it's about kind of the weird space between really old medicine and modern medicine where they were still trying to figure out anatomy.
Yeah.
And so you've got all these weird experiments where they're putting bodies back together and like stitching different pieces together to make it work, and that's where you get the whole Frankenstein.
Is it like
idea.
Frankenstein meets like Jack the Ripper type thing?
It's kind of it, but it also feels a little bit like a little bit of a historical piece too, because it's kind of accurate, kind of not, but kind of accurate.
They're kind of
so
using the Frankenstein kind of mythos as a way to drive what this kind of was. Like mythos, I mean,
because
it's just the name, right? Like
that
kinda
was
like the
yeah.
cons.
Well, that was
Yeah.
kind of it was a thing that happened, and the only reference to Frankenstein is obviously besides the fact that that was the whole
Sewing
myth.
people together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a book.
Oh, okay.
That is it's like a medical text.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh.
only referenced really briefly. So it's pretty good. It's really dark. Like there's not very good lighting at all.
So is it about him investigating these bodies?
Yeah,
then?
he's trying to find
He's trying to find
where the kids are
Frankenstein.
he's trying to find the kids, like where the kids are disappearing, because they know who's stitching them back together. They want to know why. They want to know why they're dying, basically, because there's a whole illegal dead body trade. It's pretty good.
That's the part I was confused about. I was like,
okay, I need you to be frank.
Stitch at people. Yeah, they were.
I need you to be frank with me, Craig.
Yep.
That was a pun right there. Does Sean Bean die?
Not so far.
Okay,
There's 2
good.
seasons, and I think the 3rd one's on TV right now. Because this wasn't actually originally a Netflix original.
No.
They bought it off somebody.
Yeah,
I believe
did
the
they?
BBC or something like that.
probably,
Okay.
since everybody has a damn English accent.
Yeah.
Which leads into my final point on it.
Just so you know, listeners, we don't have anything against the British accent.
No, it just
I'm
feels
1/4
like I'm.
British.
It just feels like I'm watching a foreign film, because the only parallel I can draw is that I feel watching this movie like I do when I watch a French movie. I understand enough, but there's parts of it where I'm like, what the hell did you just say?
That's fair.
They Cockney, eh?
It's some of the accents are just so thick and fast, and it's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, but it's
What did you say?
exactly
Yeah.
like
That's-
I'm not
I had that
100%.
same problem with, or kind of the same problem a little bit with the Musketeers, the TV show from BBC.
Okay, yep.
Because they have
Yeah.
thick French and thick thick English accents, but like old English. Yeah, so sometimes it's a little like, what? I gotta put subtitles on? So yeah.
See, but I haven't found that with Doctor Who or with Broadchurch, both BBC shows that or British shows that I've watched. And the accents have never been that thick, but this one, for whatever reason, you can't understand what Sean Bean is saying.
That's bad.
Man, that's weird because you can understand him in everything else that he's in.
He's got a bit of a mumble.
Huh.
He
Well, I'm
talks.
very intrigued to check this out.
It's good. I recommend it. What I'm a little bit more on the fence on is my last bit for what I watched this week. I started Kim's Convenience because I feel like this show needs a little bit of CanCon, and I like to support Canadian sitcoms. So it's a CBC original television show.
Okay, that's why I've never heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's about a Korean convenience store owner in Toronto.
Now this
and-
sounds more familiar, actually.
Yeah, the family's hilarious, especially Mr. Kim, the store owner. He's so funny. His accent's a little bit tough, but he's hilarious. The only thing I found, especially with the first episode, it's getting better now as you move further on to the episodes, but the first one seemed like they were preaching about all kinds of like diversity and inclusion stuff, and I was like, this doesn't feel like this kind of show, since Mr. Kim's like super conservative Korean immigrant. So I feel like he's probably not gonna go
I
along
feel
with
like
most of
maybe
this.
they're just trying to head it off a little bit before they
Yeah.
dove a little more into it. They're like, no, we believe in inclusionism, but
Well-
this character's not going to be the best at it.
The
Oh!
cold open was so like they decide to start their show at the beginning of Pride Week in Toronto, and two
Perfect timing.
I know, right? Two gay guys come into the store and they're trying to put up this poster for their band that's playing at whatever bar it is, and he looks and he's like, I'm not putting that poster up, and they're like, why? Like, what are you against gays? He's like, no, this is a garbage poster. You could do better than that. And the one guy goes off like, oh, you're homophobic. This is a hate crime, and I'm reporting you. And I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
And that was how they chose to cold open. So they're very lucky that I have a soft spot for Canadian comedy, because I would not have stuck through that.
That's,
Otherwise.
yeah, I don't know. Like, if they
Well,
went too
is
far
it-
with
is it
that,
as-
like, afterwards, I don't know how I would have felt about it either, yeah.
Is it as good as Corner Gas?
No. And it's not as
Okay.
good as Schitt's Creek either.
Is it close?
No. It's just it's entertaining. It's not hilarious. It's It's not as good as Schitt's Creek. It's not as good as Corner Gas. It's not as good as Letterkenny, in my opinion, either.
Is that another Canadian one?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I
on
didn't know
Crave.
that. I know that's
Yeah.
on Crave, I just didn't know it was Canadian, which makes sense
It's
because Crave's
so
100%
Canadian.
Yeah, that's,
It
I
is.
didn't- I just
It's
made
not
this-
for me.
the logic just didn't click with me until I just said it out loud there.
It was one of the first Crave originals, so Do with that what you will.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it since you had mentioned it.
It's
like a while
it's
ago.
not for me. I didn't like it.
No?
It's fast, and it requires a specific type of humor.
It was like I'm small town. It was just too much for me. I
Like
couldn't
too
do
small
it.
town.
It's so small
Like,
town.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then I might not like it because Corner Gas was
Yeah.
close to too small town for me. Because I
That's-
I love Corner
Corner
Gas.
Gas
I like
is
Corner Gas.
nothing compared to
I-
Letterkenny's small town
Oh,
was.
really?
Oh yeah.
Andrew, would you think I'd like Letterkenny?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Me and you
And
have
I
more of
didn't
the
like
same
it.
taste than me and Craig have. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I can't.
You
I
might.
can't tell you, Scott, because I have no idea what
You
what
you
would
might.
like.
You might. It's
It's
It-
funny.
it's okay.
It's fast.
I didn't.
though.
I wouldn't devote my time to it. If someone put it on, I can sit through it. But like,
Okay.
it's just not for me.
That's kind of
it's
like
just
Trailer Park Boys.
no,
right?
nothing like.
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
yeah. I don't like Trailer Park Boys either.
Trailer
See-
Park Boys is slow to me though.
Okay. So what I meant by that is it's just something I will like. I don't mind Trailer Park Boys. Like if it's on in the
Yeah.
background, or if I'm at a friend's house and he puts it on, I won't be like, oh, I know. I'm like, oh, cool, Trailer Park Boys, haha. But I never watch it on my own. Is the way
No.
is what I meant by that,
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
I get that. Yeah.
Possible, yeah. Like that's how I am with Letterkenny. Like I don't.
Okay.
I have nothing against it. It's just
Okay, yeah.
It's
so I think I know
it's
what you mean. Okay.
not for me.
I will suggest it to Will and see if he has it on when I go.
If he watches it and then get his opinion.
Yeah, because he has a better gauge for what comedies I'll actually watch and which ones I won't. But is that all you?
So is that the end of your list,
That's
Craig?
the end of my list.
Right on. Andrew,
Do you want to pick up where he left off, Scott?
Yeah,
or-
I can go ahead. I watched a fair bit this week. There's a bunch of all of my superhero shows are finally back. So I watched Gotham, Arrow. Just watched the episode of Flash.
What did you think of Flash Time?
I like the idea. Like it makes sense to me.
But you don't like the way it was
it could have been executed
portrayed.
a little bit better, I think, in certain.
Yeah, my thing
situations.
is I found like I liked that it like the idea of Flash Time,
Yeah.
and I like that it's canon now that it happens.
Yeah.
I did not like the fact that they fucking moved so goddamn slow, walking through everything and talking through everything. I hate that. And the reason I hate it is because there isn't enough continuity in how fast they can move
Yeah,
to begin
that was
with in the
one thing I
show.
was gonna agree with. I was like the continuity.
So
of,
see,
like wait, you can run through time all the time, but you're not fast enough to catch
I just-
somebody.
I distinctly remember an episode in season 2 where Barry wasn't fast enough to carry some fucking glass or catch some glass that ended up stabbing Iris.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that. You telling me he can run so fast that they can move at the same, like, faster than a fucking nuclear bomb is blowing up?
Yeah.
I can't do it. That continuity? No,
It
can't
was-
do it.
I
But I do like the idea and I did like the story.
I very much enjoyed the episode. I agree, and I agree. I like having rules in a superhero universe. And
Yeah.
it feels like with the Flash, is they bend the rules with his Speed Force a lot. Like they do some weird
Like, even-
stuff. Like
Even season 3 with Savitar, he wasn't fast enough. Savitar was faster in the suit, and then he ended up being faster than Savitar at some points in the suit.
even
It
though
just
Savitar
it didn't make
was-
sense.
Spoiler is his future is him in the
Yeah.
future, so technically it's the
And
same
s- and s-
same speed technically because they're the same
And same
person.
same with Zoom. Same with Zoom.
Yeah.
Hunter Solomon wasn't fast enough, and then all of a sudden he was fast enough. No,
like
can't do it.
See, like I kind of get that. Like I get he has to like get to that ability, but it's they keep moving that mark of like he's the fastest.
Put a
Oh,
speedometer in the bottom right
that's a
hand
ho-
corner.
I would love that. Like or like
Put it
I want
put
the
it right
timer to
over like the CTV thing
Yeah.
in the bottom corner,
just
and I would be so down for
that'd be
that.
pretty awesome.
Like, oh, he's moving Mach 15. Okay, I am very okay
And
with
I
this.
feel like they could decrease on the like CG budget if they did that because we'd be focused on the speed a little bit more, so we wouldn't notice the
we
bad
wouldn't be looking at him
graphics, yeah.
moving. Yeah. They could go back to like 1980s or like 1960s country movie
Yeah.
where they just have the paper on the thing moving while they sat there in the horse and buggy.
Yeah.
That's how they could do it.
Yeah, that'd probably work. But yeah, overall, it was enjoyable. I'm glad that these shows are all back. I also watched the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Episode, which came back, episode 99. Episode 100 is this Friday coming up / 2 days ago for our podcast listeners, because this comes out on Sundays. But yeah, I'm excited for 100 episodes. I am a little concerned because I've heard rumors that this might be the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because
Honestly, I think that's probably for the best. I mean, you can only milk it for so long.
I partly
and
agree.
I love superhero movies, but they got to cut it out at some point.
I agree.
Like, we're going to be oversaturated.
I agree, but the only thing I say, like, the only reason I'd want this one to stick around is I love the cast, like, especially Phil Coulson.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blanking on the actor's name. Clark Gregg. That's why.
That sounds familiar.
That's why I thought it was Craig. You put those.
Craig.
If you put those two names together, it's almost Craig. So Clark Gregg, who plays Phil Coulson, I just love him, especially in that role. Like, he made that role originally in Iron Man. He didn't have a name. He was agent, and like he was credited as agent, but because they enjoyed his like interaction with the cast so much, they made him a person, and then he became his own show. Like, they brought him back for the Dead for his own show. Like, I just love that guy and that cast they have around him, and I will literally watch those guys do anything. If they want to go bowling,
I want to spin off of Simmons. I want to spin off of Simmons.
I'd be cool with that.
Just give me her in University. That's it. I don't care. Like, we were talking about it yesterday or the day before. Like, she, I didn't know I have a type, but after you mentioned it, I was like, I totally have a type. Yeah, she she fits the mold. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to typecast you with types, but yeah, you got types.
Yeah, 100%. I for sure have a type.
Yeah, but yeah, I would just again, I'm excited for this 100th episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up. If they do cancel it after the season, I'll be okay, because they did mention that they're writing this season, like the conclusion of this season is going to be written as a series ender if they don't get picked up for another one. So it will have a proper conclusion, which I like. But if they were to continue...
Well, it's good to go out on top, too, right? Yeah. Seinfeld it. Go out while you're on top and don't shit the bed.
They've always had iffy ratings.
Well, while they're at, like, their peak.
Yeah, exactly. And they just broke 100, which is a big thing for TV shows, because that's a syndication number. It's a special syndication number for TV shows for some reason. So that's a big deal for them. But yeah, that was another one of the superhero TV shows I watched. I also finished up The Tick on Amazon Prime. The full first season.
No reason to get pissed again, eh?
No, they concluded nice and well this time. Like, it ended off well. I enjoyed, like, the show wasn't serious at all. Like, it was just it was the first.
Well, it's meant to be campy, right?
Exactly, and it was
like as campy as possible.
Exactly, and it did a very good job in that, and it was just really enjoyable. And I think I think it can be credited as like one of the first successful superhero comedy TV shows, because they tried, like, DC kind of tried it, but that show only made it half a season. Powerless, that was. So this one, Tick, I just really enjoyed. I'm kind of curious to learn more about.
Yeah, Powerless. That was one with
what's her name?
Oh, what's his name?
Oh, yeah, Alan Tudyk and and what's her name? I can't remember her name now.
I was thinking, what's his name from the guy who played?
Oh, Ahmed
Kumar. Yeah, Abed. Yeah.
Abed, yes, Abed.
Abed,
We're so bad with names.
Fuck, I said Kumar, not the right. It's not Cal Penn. No. Not Cal Penn. I know his name. Fuck.
Anyways.
Yeah, Abed.
Yes. So I watched that as well. What else did I watch? Okay, so I watched Once Upon a Time, because that's also back. Don't have much to say about that. I like that show. It's just fun.
It's your guilty pleasure, man.
It definitely would be my guilty pleasure if I had to pick something. Like, I'm not guilty of it, but if I had to say one movie, like one show is my guilty pleasure, that'd probably be it, because I'm not like...
Hey, man, I used to be the same way with Beauty and the Geek, so I stand by it.
Nice. I remember that show.
That was my fucking show. Loved it.
So I also watched Guardians of the Galaxy. People can check out my YouTube video if they want to hear me say more about that. And then I also watched Batman v Superman, as we've already mentioned a few times. Yes. Well, Craig, I was planning to watch it because it had just been added to Netflix. But seeing that Craig was going to watch it kind of inspired me to be like, yeah, Saturday night, let's watch Batman v Superman. And then Craig did it.
Let's have a really good Saturday night.
And I did, and I enjoy it. I always love that one. Like, anybody who's ever like upset about like stuff about it, I'm just like, oh, you're a crybaby. Okay. Like, spoiled children. Like,
that's how it is.
Oh, it didn't meet my expectations. Oh, well, that sounds like you.
Well,
it sounds like you
suck my
wanted a
dick.
pony for Christmas, and your parents bought you an Xbox, and you're upset. Shut up. Just no. That's
Get
how I feel
over
about
it.
most people who cry about Batman v Superman. I'm just like,
This is how I feel about it. I love it.
yes,
Everyone I know who has watched it and enjoyed it loves it.
yes, I agree.
There's no middle ground. People either shit on it because they're fucking Marvel cocksuckers
Yeah.
who are obsessed with that stuff and feel like they can do no wrong, even though there are major loopholes
Yeah.
in their story
There's
continuity,
plenty.
and they just shit on DC for the sake of doing it.
Just because of a Martha line, which the Martha line makes sense to me. Like you start off the film seeing his parents die, and you see his dad say Martha as he dies. That's what he flashed back to. He imagines when Clark says Martha, Batman has a flashback to the fact that his parents, as his dad died, he also said Martha. That'll trigger anybody.
I never saw it that way. I liked that though. The way I saw it was he gets a grasp and sees Clark's humanity. How like he's moments away from getting stabbed, and all he cares about is his mother. And it obviously there's the name connection.
That's what comes
but then
after.
it kicks Batman in the ass, and he's like, "Fuck, man, I've changed, bro. I have changed.
I'm still from.
I am high school Andrew right now. This is not cool."
Yeah, so I'm saying like I agree with you. I'm just saying that like most people say
I never picked up on that, but I love that.
it's that's just the connection I
Yeah.
say that causes him to
Yeah.
have that realization. He's like,
Yeah.
my dad says that as he was dying. This guy who I'm about to kill just said that. He's not a monster. I'm the monster who's about to kill this guy, like the guy who killed my parents. That's the realization Batman has. That's why Batman doesn't kill Superman. People, there you go. I solved it for you. If you any of you
for
have a
those of
problem
you who
with
can't get your
go die.
for those go die.
We're going
For
back
those of
to
you who
it.
can't wrap your head around it, this is Forgot to Grow Up versus You.
Bam.
Batman versus Superman. Forgot to Grow Up versus You.
Mic drop. We're out. No, we're not.
Boom.
Don't
drop
more
the mic.
movies talk. No, I'm not gonna do that. These are expensive.
Yeah. That hurts the ears. I don't want to
as
edit
well.
that out.
Sorry, guys.
Anyways, I'll get back to my list after Batman v Superman. I also watched another James Bond. I watched You Only Live Twice. I only managed to watch one James Bond this week. I'm going to squeeze in a bunch more in the next week, hopefully. But this one thing I had to say about this one, I think maybe the most racist 007. They dress him up as an Asian dude.
They do?
They dress him up. This is the one that was in Japan.
Only Live Twice. Was that Roger Moore?
No, this is the last. That's kind of the last Sean
This is
Connery.
okay.
So it's the last one before he.
Man, I can't recall that one at all.
Yeah, this one I've seen before. So he fakes his death at the beginning, and then he gets sent to Japan. And in Japan, you see half the Japanese people are actually white people pretending to be Japanese. And then at one point, he dresses up as a Japanese person to go undercover. And so yeah, that I felt.
Is that the one where he gets married?
Yeah, he's married to a Japanese
At the end,
girl.
yeah. Okay, at the end, yeah. Okay, I remember that
so
one.
He pretends to be a Japanese dude to marry this Japanese girl as some kind of way to get to whatever the end of the movie is.
Yeah.
And yeah, I felt that was just a slight, like nowadays you could never do that. And
No.
even me watching that, like I'm not usually like too like, oh God, but that I was like, no guys, why'd you do that? Like, cause the worst part is that they did have Asian actresses and actors around, but they also had white people pretend
James Bond.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why'd you why didn't you just go all the way one way or all the way other, as opposed to playing this weird middle line where you're technically still being bad, but you were also partially good because you did have the lead Japanese lady was actually
a beautiful Japanese lady. Yeah.
It's just a couple of the side ones. There was like, oh no, this is gonna be a white chick with like special eyeliner, and it's like, oh guys, come on.
It's not like all the old Western movies that were instead of the indigenous people, they were Mexicans.
Yeah, it's just back then it was a different era.
It was a different time.
We shouldn't that doesn't excuse it. But
learn from the mistakes.
That's what I think is the best thing to kind of see is like, yeah, definitely don't do that, guys, ever again.
Be good people.
Be good people, make good movies. But speaking of good stuff, I also watched, I've started to watch a new show, which was pretty enjoyable, The Killjoys, which is about this group of intergalactic bounty hunters. And just saying intergalactic bounty hunters gets me to tune in any week.
Yep.
And it had the one guy who is either played Iceman in X-Men or is the brother of the guy who played Iceman, because they're twins. So I never remember which one's which. But yeah, or Ice.
Somehow it's X-Men related.
Well, the guy who's the ice guy in X-Men. I don't know if I said the right name. I don't know if it's Iceman. I don't think it's Iceman.
Was it Bobby?
It's Bobby, yeah.
It is Iceman,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's either him or his brother is one of the guys. There's this badass chick, and she's the captain. I always love when it's a chick captain. And then his brother gets like dragged along into it, and they're just bounty hunters. And I've watched like 4 episodes so far, and it's pretty good. It's kind of got like a Fireflox kind of feel to it. Like Fireflox meets typical sci-fi show nowadays is the best way to think of it. Like if Firefly was made today, like, and it had never existed as an idea before, I think it would be very similar to this, as just, they're smugglers in Firefly and they're bounty hunters in this. But yeah, it's pretty good. I would recommend it to anybody who likes sci-fis.
It's CanCon too, surprisingly.
That was another thing I forgot to mention. Yeah, it is. I think I'm 90% sure it's filmed mostly in Toronto and Vancouver.
Which doesn't mean a whole lot about a TV show, but it is a
well, that's like
series.
80% of them.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, Canada.
But yeah, this is that was one of the things that actually did intrigue me about this, was because I think it's a sci-fi show.
Space.
Pardon?
Space.
Damn it. Yeah, I always get those two mixed up. They're pretty much the same. But yeah, so it's like a space original, which it's just really good. It's enjoyable. It's on Crave TV, the first couple seasons. So if you like sci-fi, you should check that out. That's all my list.
Sounds good.
Andrew, what did you watch this week?
Oh, hello. I dove head first into Kroll Show.
I don't think
Dove
head first.
the
head first
You
puts
have
it
to
in.
tell me finally what this show is, because I've been kind of
So,
going
Nick
along
Kroll.
pretending I know what this is. I have no
So
idea.
Nick Kroll, the brainchild of Big Mouth.
So it's Nick Kroll, and basically
And Jenny Slate.
Yes, and John Mulaney and what's his face?
Oh, I can picture
Yeah,
him.
there's
I can hear his
people
voice.
in it. What is it about?
Yeah. It's okay. It's like a sketch show,
It's a sketch show. Okay, right.
except it's not your typical sketch show. Each sketch is a TV show
Yeah, it's like
on, let's say TLC.
It's like
kinda
SCTV,
like that.
but for reality TV shows.
Yeah.
And
And
minus the
they're
whole
all
network
tied together.
Yeah, they produce each other's TV shows.
Yeah.
Some of the characters are
They
on
do
the other, they're
crossovers.
on the other shows. It's so good.
This sounds
And you get some of them
crazy.
where you think it's not a TV show and you think it's actually just like a skit.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a TV,
It's a TV show. Yes.
Like they've got Publicity,
Yes.
which is about Nick Kroll who dresses up as a woman whose name is Liz. And
With-
then they've got Jenny Slate, who is also a woman, and her name is Liz.
Yes.
And they're both PR. They have a PR firm together called Publicity.
It's based off their.
It's based off their names. And they're just
I think
the
I know
dumbest.
a couple of people in real life.
Yeah, they're just they're so dumb, but it's so good,
That
and the
sounds pretty
whole show, and like by the time you get to the 3rd season, some of the characters have changed so drastically that you start to love them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like for instance, season 1, kind of spoilers. Season 1, they've got one I think it was Armand in the house is what they
Armand
called
of
the
house,
sketch.
it's
Armand of the
he's,
house.
He's the man of the house, but he really
Yeah.
isn't. That's,
Yeah, and they use his name as an attempt at a pun, and it sucks.
It's
like
every
they've got
single time.
Armand around the world, but it's called Armand Le Monde. But it starts off, and Armand's kind of like this like over the top, like ridiculous plastic surgeon to the animals in Beverly Hills.
He's a pet plastic surgeon.
A pet.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I honestly I hated his sketches in the first season.
I know,
but
but
by
he's
the
so
second
funny.
season, like everything that comes out of his mouth starts to be a joke. And then by the 3rd season, like they fully embrace it, and just literally every word that comes out of his mouth is just hilarious.
Okay. Well, this show does sound pretty intriguing. I might have to check it
One,
out.
for sure. One of the sketches, it's called "Oh Hello" with Nick Kroll
And John
and
Mulaney.
John Mulaney. They have a comedy special on
They
Broadway,
did a Broadway
on Netflix.
musical or a Broadway
Yeah.
play based entirely off of one sketch from the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's amazing, worth every minute. But they have a joke, and it's like a prank show called Too Much Tuna, which is based around like a live action, like a real life event that happened to them where they were like out getting lunch and some kids pranked them by sending them a sandwich with too much tuna.
Okay. All right.
And like they just go, they have people come and meet them at this diner and they secretly order a sandwich with like this much, for those of you who can't see, it's like 8 inches of tuna on a sandwich.
It's a lot of tuna.
And the whole
And
point
it's
is
so
that
stupid, but
supposed
it's so funny.
Yeah, the whole point in the if it were a real show, the whole point would be to get the guests to say that's too much tuna. And they're like, that's the catchphrase. Except,
But
that
if they
lead
lead you
with,
into
like,
it, they
you're on a
they
prank
tell
show.
yeah. Yeah. and they're two old guys. I forgot to mention this. They're two like old Jewish guys in New York City.
Okay, that sounds pretty good.
They're on WOLO, which is public access cable.
Yeah.
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 So they're just two guys that just decided to take advantage of a time slot and make their own TV show.
And I'm not going to take up too much more time talking about the show. However, they have one which is based off Degrassi. It's called Wheels Up Ontario?
Wheels Ontario.
Yeah, Wheels Ontario.
Nice.
And Nick Kroll plays a guy named Mikey. And I'm not going to give you too much because I want you to watch the show. It's amazing. But they have Nathan Fillion in it.
Oh, snap.
Who, as we know, the Forgot to Grow Up podcast, man crushes hard on Nathan Fillion.
do.
Believe it.
Like everyone should.
Everybody.
And he and it's ironic. We were talking about it last week or the week before about, it might have been both weeks, how the stereotype is every Canadian, like our main thing is Mounties.
Yeah, that's every.
They have
police
Nathan
officer
Fillion
is
as a Mountie.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. And I started to think, Nathan Fillion should be on our money.
I'd be okay with that.
Nathan Fillion in a Mountie uniform, take the Queen off our bills, put Nathan Fillion
on the 20
in a Mountie
He
uniform.
is definitely more culturally relevant to Canada lately than the Queen has been.
Even if it's just his head with that Mountie hat on, and people are like, "Who's this, mommy?" You'd be like, "Honey, that's Firefly," and then just send your kid to school.
No, you just smack that kid. You're like, that's Michael Reynolds.
You know him.
You know that.
You know him.
I assure you, I do not.
So moving on, because I can say no bad things about the Kroll Show.
Yes.
There isn't a single thing.
What were you saying, Craig?
There isn't a single thing. There is
Not
no
a
bad.
single thing.
No.
It's based off our names. You guys are my sisters. Anyway, so I found on YouTube there is a couple of TV shows that I used to watch as a kid that I loved.
tell you about that.
Full seasons and full episodes.
Right on.
And whoever put those together, I love you. You are going to get a birthday card from me. Probably not because I don't know your mailing address, but I love you. Because I dove hard into Mummies Alive, a cartoon I loved as I was a kid. I watched a little bit of Masked Rider, which is a North American ripoff of Power Rangers. Yeah. And then I also found a show that I haven't been able to find anywhere else that I loved. The Mighty Ducks.
Oh, you didn't tell me about the Mighty Ducks. You found the Mighty
I
Ducks?
found it. Yeah, I buried the lead on that. I
the lead,
found
man.
the Mighty Ducks.
That's awesome. How many
The
seasons
animated
of those?
TV show.
How much-
I think 2 or 3
Yeah,
seasons.
they always were so short. Like every time I go,
Mummies Alive is 1 season, but it's like 50 episodes. Back when they used to have an episode a week,
crazy
and that was a whole season.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Like, oh man, like I YouTube searched it just to see if they had
for
it,
shits.
because I was looking for the movie,
Yeah.
and I found it, and I was like, they got Wild Wing up in this bitch.
Yeah.
They got
wow.
every episode.
That's awesome. That's
Of the
actually
Mighty
the first
Ducks.
One. I'll get into that before Mummies Alive. To be honest, I love that.
Yeah,
show
I
growing
stand
up.
by it. Like, oh, it was so good. Like, even like, get rid of Draconis, get rid of Wild Wing, get rid of all of them. Give me the aggressive cop who is always just eating donuts and ready to pull his gun out. Your stereotypical 90s white Irish cop. That's who it was, and I love Mighty Ducks.
The animated series.
The animated series. Emilio Estevez, I could take him and leave it.
Yes, but that
Don't,
animated
I like the
series,
movies, I don't need them, but the animated series is to die
Gotta
for.
have that in your life.
Gotta have it. Next on my list, I also watched the Joel McHale show, as we talked about. My
We all
TV
did, yes.
Yeah.
managed to force me to not watch the great credit song.
The new credit song.
The new credit song. Hopefully there's a new one every week. That would be awesome.
I love shows that do stuff like that. That was one thing about
that and the running Netflix Toten joke.
I love that too. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. Just like, and I like how like you can tell it's a little like unscripted too. Like the whole, like this spoilers for anyone who didn't watch this last one. That like the gag with the fake blood stuff. Like, and then he has it all over his hands, and he just keeps going with it, just standing there. Like okay.
What? Let's move on. I have great hair. Let's keep doing this.
Exactly. He's such a pro, and it's just so great. Like, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he's reading off a teleprompter, even though he totally
he
is.
Was an
reading off
even
a
better
teleprompter.
Chevy Chase than Chevy Chase is.
Yes.
So I'm going to try to get through my list because I got a lot more left.
Alrighty.
I watched 5 episodes of Fargo.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I hadn't watched the TV
Love
series
Freeman.
yet. Love Martin Freeman. Love me some Ted Danson.
Yep.
Wait, Ted Danson's in that?
Of course he is.
Yeah, he
You
is.
say that like I'm supposed to know this stuff off the top of my head.
Ted Danson's
It's
in
Ted
everything.
Danson, man.
He's not in everything, okay? He
might as well be.
He's
He's
literally
in
been
everything we
one
need.
thing I've watched in the last 4 years, okay?
Speaking of which, bringing back to Kroll Show, they have a ripoff of Cheers
Of course they do.
Damn.
called Chairs,
That's awesome.
and they have a weird obsession with Kelsey Grammer on that show. Just so you know.
Yeah, but he never
Back to my
appears on
list.
it. It's,
Some people would say that about us for certain actors too.
Ted Danson.
You mean Ted Danson
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
and Arnold?
Yeah,
Well, those are understandable though.
that's true.
So I watched Fargo. I also dove in headfirst. I'm halfway through season 3 of House of Lies.
Yes, nice.
Love that show. I can
good
say
show.
nothing. I can say nothing bad about it either.
The only
If you
thing I
haven't
would
watched
say
it,
bad
watch
about
it.
is you can't watch that with your parents. Don't watch that show with your
No.
parents. That's
Well, you can't watch it with
I
your parents.
can't.
I
okay,
can.
For most people, can't watch it with their parents. You and Mama Bear have a lot different relationship than most people
Yes.
and their mothers.
My mom and I will cuss each other out and then go get a beer.
Yes.
That's our relationship. So it works. We have kind of a trashy relationship. Now that I mention it, like it's kind of a white trash relationship, but like good white trash, if that's a thing, if that exists.
I would just say you guys have a healthy relationship, to be honest.
A doctor actually told us that once. A medical doctor told us we have a good
You
relationship
guys
because I was
communicate
getting
very well. You don't.
I was getting
lie.
stitches on this cut that's right there. That's now a scar. I was getting stitches on it, and we were bickering back and forth. I think I was like 12 or 13,
Yeah, sounds good.
and the doctor's like, "Oh, you guys have a good relationship." So it's been verbally documented
I'm a medical professional.
by a medical professional. So I watched House of Lies. I made it halfway through season 7 of Mad Men because I was binge watching that, and I was like, I need to back off. I'm too heavy into this. I don't want to finish it right now. I need to save a little bit because you can't just,
Yeah.
I need some space away from Dawn or else I'll fall in love too much.
I understand.
I've watched seasons 2 and 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I approve.
because I watched a lot this past week.
That's good.
Thank you, CRA, for having taxes due soon. I had to buckle down on those, so I put the movies on and the TV shows on my laptop beside my computer while I went through all my shit. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 2 and 3, and I gotta say, I liked their use of Ward in season 2.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I was hoping they would never bring him back. I loved Ward in season 1.
Yeah.
Didn't need to see him again. I felt like he had outrun his course. And the way they bring him back in season 3, I was like, didn't fucking need it.
Luckily, he does go away pretty quickly as well. He doesn't stick around for too
Yeah.
long. And they do bring him back.
Do they
once
bring
more.
it? I haven't.
He does come back
I haven't seen in
once
season
more.
4.
He comes back once more. I don't. They go into a thing called the framework at one point, which is an artificial reality, and he's in there.
Okay,
So
that's in season 4 or
5, I think. I think that's 5.
5. Okay, yeah, because season 3, he's in the last like couple episodes because he's been possessed by Hive.
Yeah. So he disappears for a bit after that because he obviously doesn't survive that. But yeah, then he just comes back for like a couple episodes in the.
Yeah, because Hive like sheds.
Yeah.
He's taking him over, and he's like, time to be myself, and like sheds him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just dead.
Yeah. Exactly.
The last thing I watched this week was The Darkest Hour because it came out on DVD last week, so I bought it, obviously, because as I said before, it was a great movie, and which leads me into the Oscars, which I watched, and I gotta say, I did. I didn't watch it as it happened. I watched like afterwards.
The highlights later. I was gonna say this is the lowest rated Oscars ever.
I gotta say, I think it might have been one of the better ones. I don't think there was many mistakes that they made.
Well, they've replaced the dude who screwed up last year with a stand, just a plastic
Yeah.
stand, and it worked better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
No human error in that situation.
Yep. No, like usually I find some errors each year, and I think, that movie didn't really deserve it. That's just a political play. You guys are
Yeah.
trying to keep it clean. Whereas this year, like I think they actually kind of hit it right on the money.
Yeah, I'd agree with for the most part.
The fact that
crazy out
the
there.
fact that Dunkirk won multiple awards, I was very glad about, because when it came out, I loved
Yeah.
amazing movie. I would have said it was one of the best movies of the year right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so seeing it still carry that and get the recognition it deserved for being so unique and so awesome, I'm glad to see it won. And the fact that Gary Oldman won Best Actor,
Yeah. Yeah.
give me Batman Year One, live action, Gary Oldman.
Yeah, I'd watch
Make
that.
it happen.
I'd watch that 100%.
Of course, fuck it, I don't even care if you would. I would watch it.
That's fair. But yeah, no, the Oscars for the most part I feel were pretty good. Nothing too controversial happened. I don't disagree or 100% agree with everything, but that's how everything works. That's how awards
For sure.
work.
This is how we work.
Especially.
And this is wrapping up episode 22
Yes,
of
it
the
is.
Forgot to Grow Up
At this
podcast.
At this pace, we take this ridiculous, bare bones episode subject that we didn't think we'd have much to talk about. And
Stretch it into an hour and a half.
My ticker says an hour 43, but we can talk.
Yep.
We can knock some time off that for
About
talking
an hour
before the
40,
intro.
yeah.
Yeah. At this pace, by the time we get to episode 50, we'll be doing 6-hour episodes. So
Yep.
So stick tuned.
Strap
We'll
in,
begin to that
folks.
eventually, folks.
You're
Yeah.
welcome, Forgot to Grow Up
Listeners.
uppers.
Yeah, we got to come up with a name for our listeners.
Yep.
A couple dozen.
Forgot
of
to
them.
Groupers.
all 6 of you.
Yep. Love you, Nico.
Thanks for listening this week, guys. Bye.
Aloha.
It's based off our names.